on the Womenpreneurs Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is with Dr. Ivan Misner, the well-known master networker known worldwide. Dr. Misner not only gives some of the most valuable networking information that exists today, but he does it with genuine openness and candidness when sharing this information with others. This is the mark of not only a true networker, but also a true humanitarian. Let's listen in. Dr. Misner, how are you?
Hi, Danette. If I were doing any better, I'd cancel my life insurance. I'm good, thanks.
Wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the doctor and just call you Ivan because we've developed a rapport, and I'm so excited about having you on the show and just excited about the things that you will be gifting and blessing our listeners with here, and that is the knowledge of networking, and that's just truly who you are. So it's truly an honor and a privilege to have you here on today.
Thanks. It's my pleasure to be on.
Wonderful. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and get right to it because I know that if you've been out on Facebook today, and for my listeners here, I put this question out there when I made a statement. If you guys want to maybe get the secrets to networking, or if you're sick and tired of networking just for the sake of networking, then this would be the show for them to come to and listen to. But, you know, when I put that out there, I later thought about a different question that I wanted to open our show up with, and that's attitude. You know, the attitude of networking. Now, in your opinion, does your attitude, whether it be positive or negative, really have an impact on how we as business owners network with others?
Absolutely, positively, unequivocally. Attitude is very important in terms of networking effectively. I've done several surveys on the top characteristics of a networker. The first one was published in a book I wrote called Masters of Networking, and we published the results of, you know, what are the top 10 characteristics. And attitude, I believe, was like number 3. It was either 3 or 4 in terms of what people perceive to be a master networker, somebody who's really good at what they do. Attitude is really important. And, you know, it kind of makes sense because when you think about it, when you go to any kind of networking event, the people who are sitting there complaining about how bad business is, you just don't want to be around them. And it doesn't do any good to complain to people because half the people you tell don't care, and the other half are glad that you're worse off than they are. So there's really no reason to do that.
Yeah, I agree with you with that. I tell you that energy, that negative energy, is one thing that I truly run from when I'm out doing, spending my time networking out in the field. Now, I have this issue where I like networking just for the sake of networking. I believe in networking with the purpose in mind. But the thing that I find when I run into several small to mid-sized business owners is they truly don't know how to network. You know, you go to these places and you run in and you run into Bob or Sue who's approaching you with that used car salesman mentality.
Yeah.
You know, it really it's a big turnoff. Can you give us some examples of how one can build networking skills, or is there such thing as that? Can you build networking skills?
You can, and it starts with what I call a VCP process. But give me a moment to get to the VCP process. You talk about people not liking to go to networking events, and I get that completely because most people use networking opportunities as a chance to do some face-to-face cold calling. And that is just completely a bad way to network if you want to do it effectively. I did a presentation in Europe last year, and there were 500 people in the audience. And I asked everyone in the audience, I said, how many of you are here today? Raise your hands if you're hoping to, maybe just to possibly sell something. Raise your hand. Everybody in the room, virtually everyone, raised their hand. I said, great. Now, how many of you are here today, raise your hand, hoping to buy something? Nobody raised their hand. Not one single person. And Danette, see, that's the networking disconnect. People show up at networking events wanting to sell, but there's nobody there to buy. And so that's why you get that sense of that used car salesman mentality. It's completely the wrong approach to networking, to go to networking events and try to sell. Networking is really about building relationships. You want to do it well, you have to build relationships. And if you want to build relationships, you have to understand what I call the VCP process. VCP stands for visibility, credibility, profitability. And you have to get this right to make anything else work. If you don't get this right, forget about networking, throw it out, don't even try. Because if you don't get this right, none of the rest of your efforts are going to work. First, you have to be visible in the community. People have to know who you are and what you do. That's the V part. Then you have to establish credibility. That's where people know who you are, they know what you do, and they know you're good at it. Now, they may know you're good at it because they've used you, or they know people who have used you, and so you've established a reputation in the community as being good at what you do. Only then, and this is a chronological process, can you go from visibility to credibility to profitability, and profitability is where people know who you are, they know what you do, they know you're good at it, and they're willing to pass you referrals on an ongoing reciprocal basis. What happens, though, is people try to jump over the VCP process. They try to go right from visibility straight to profitability. Hi, Danette, my name's Ivan. Let's do business. And I call that, by the way, premature solicitation, which you don't want to say fast 3 times. It'll get you in trouble. So, but that's what happens is you meet somebody and they go, hey, we should be doing business, or here's my card. I have a product or service that you need. And they're doing that before they're even at credibility. And you have to be at credibility before you can be asking to do business with anybody. You have to build that social capital. So the VCP process is really important. And if you understand VCP, then you understand how to network effectively. I mean, I just had somebody ask me for a referral to a really good contact I have, and I hardly knew this guy. And I basically said, no, you're not even at visibility with me. I don't know anything about you. And I'm not going to refer you to someone who's really important to me, well-known name, not going to introduce you until you and I are solidly at credibility. And that doesn't happen in an email, doesn't happen in a phone call, probably doesn't even happen in 6 months of getting to know somebody.
Well, I understand that. I tell you, reputation is really important, and credibility is definitely something that's important that most of us get past. So I really appreciate you for explaining that. Now, it's funny that you would mention credibility because I came across one of your quotes on the Internet that said, referrals aren't given easily. If you don't take the time to establish credibility, you're not going to get the referral. And
right.
And you just mentioned that people have to get to know you, in order to feel comfortable with who you are and what you do. But now, we run into this quite often where we have new business owners or business owners that have been out there for a while, but they don't know how to, how can you establish credibility in your industry with people that don't really know you if you're really not well known by people? Because, sometimes it's hard to get up in there. Can you give us any advice on ways to establish that or position yourself in doing that?
Yeah, first of all, you have to go into it understanding that networking is more about farming than it is about hunting, that it's about cultivating relationships with people. So there's no get-rich-quick scheme here. So there's no quick way to do this if you want to do it effectively. And that's always depressing to people. They're like, no. We live in this instant gratitude kind of society. And so people go, no, there's got to be something faster. And so, I don't believe you, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that face-to-face cold calling. And then they screw it all up and don't understand why networking doesn't work. So you have to understand that networking is more about farming than it is about hunting. In my book, Networking Like a Pro, I have a graph. It's called the time confidence curve. The time confidence curve. And the important thing about the time confidence curve is that it's not your confidence that counts. It's my confidence in your ability that counts.
Oh.
So I'm not going to give you any business. I'm not going to refer anybody to you until I have confidence in your ability. And so the time confidence curve varies from profession to profession. So to answer your question, first thing you have to do is kind of determine where am I on the time confidence curve as a profession. For example, a florist is pretty short on the time confidence curve. People are willing to refer a florist pretty quickly, or certainly use a florist pretty quickly to see how they are. A printer is further down the time confidence curve. A real estate agent and a CPA are further down the time confidence curve. A financial planner who's investing somebody's retirement income is off the scale. Nobody's going to refer a financial planner until they know them and trust them, and so the time confidence curve is longer. So the thing to do for that new business is to understand that it's all about building those relationships, and you'd better start now because you're not going to get referrals for months from people. Hey, listen, it'll happen occasionally, but even a blind squirrel can find a nut. I mean, you can stumble over something occasionally, but if you really want to build a strong referral-based business, it's all about taking time and building that relationship with people.
So now, is there any particular skills or networking streams that one would need? Should you go into it thinking that you need to get certain things in order to make certain things happen? Again, I know that so many of us, we go in blind, or we go in feeling like, well, no, there's no real magic to this. I mean, is there any secrets or any skills that one would truly need in networking?
Yeah, so let's talk about what I call the 12 by 12 by 12 rule. And these are some real, you see, networking takes both a mindset and a skill set. The mindset we've talked about, the idea that networking is more about farming than it is about hunting. It's about the VCP process, the time confidence curve. These are all part of the mindset. The skill set, that involves some very specific techniques that you apply within the context of that mindset. So let's start with the 12 by 12 by 12 rule. The 12 by 12 by 12 rule it relates to how do you look 12 feet away? How do you come across 12 inches away or up close? And what are the first 12 words you say? The 12 by 12 by 12 rule. So how do you come across 12 feet away? Are you dressed the part? Do you look like a business professional? I go to a lot of networking events, and I see people who I just know way I'd refer them to an important client of mine because they're just not dressed professionally. They don't look the part. One of my favorite examples was some guy in Southern California who I met. He called himself the casual accountant, and he was so proud of the fact that he came to meetings in shorts, sandals, and a Hawaiian shirt, and he thought that was really cool to be the casual accountant. Yeah, it's really nice, but guess what? You're never going to get a referral from me. Never. I am never going to refer a big client to some guy wearing a Hawaiian shirt in corporate America. It's just not going to happen. Is that unfair? Maybe, but get over it. I mean, first impressions are important. And if I bring in some guy in sandals and a Hawaiian shirt to my corporate client, they're going to laugh me out of the office. And so you have to know your audience and you have to dress appropriately. That doesn't mean a painting contractor needs to come in a three-piece suit. That doesn't make sense either, but, they shouldn't be in their painting overalls with paint all over them either. As a matter of fact, I'd recommend they wear, khakis and a shirt, something like that. You don't have to be in a coat and tie, but you have to dress appropriate to your profession. So what do you look like 12 feet away? Do you look the part of a business professional? Then how do you come across up close, 12 inches away? Now, I don't mean get, in somebody's face, but I mean, how do you come across up close? And we started this interview with really addressing this issue, and that is the attitude. People want to do business with people that have a positive attitude. And if you are negative or grumpy, people aren't going to do business with you, period. End of story. And so attitude is really important, and how you come across up close to people is really, really critical. And then the last thing is the first 12 words you say. Now, let me just do a timeout here because the truth is you want to – the first 12 words you should really say is asking about somebody else. A good networker has two ears and one mouth and uses them both proportionally. It's almost like this interview. You're asking me questions and I'm expounding on the answers. That's what a good networker is like. But when it's your chance to talk, then the first thing you want to say are what's known as your unique selling proposition, something that in about 12 words says what you do, with the goal of them saying, "Wow, how do you do that?" or "Tell me more." You want them to be interested in what you're doing because you've said something that's really got their attention. One of my favorites, you mentioned the Referral Institute, which is a company I'm associated with, and the Referral Institute, I think, has one of the best unique selling propositions I've heard, is we help people work less, make more, and create referrals for life. Now, that last phrase is the real key. We help people create referrals for life. Every time I've seen somebody do that, they go, well, how do you do that? Okay, boom, they just open the door for you. How do you do that? It gives you a chance now to talk about it. So the 12 by 12 by 12 rule is a great skill set to understand if you're new to networking and you just want to get the ball rolling in the process. Make sense?
Yeah, definitely makes a heck of a lot of sense there. You know, now I love that thought pattern and the fact that when I'm engaging in a conversation with someone, and you mentioned the unique selling proposition, and we don't really realize how just saying what we have to say in that quick, 12 words or whatever, which direction you decide to go in, how important it is to really hone in the correct way. And like you mentioned, how you answer back or respond back to that person really begins that dialogue. I mean, because I'm sitting here and I'm listening to how you're breaking it down and explaining it, and I have that wow, the thought pattern of, wow, how do you do that? And then you go in and to be able to explain it, but not take all day in it. It's just
right.
So key, and you just laid it out so eloquently, and I really appreciate you for that. Now, again, we get into visiting people at networking functions, networking events, and we go and I say, why this person is standing in the corner over there? They're not active. They're not proactive in any kind of way. They're sitting there expecting people to come to them.
Right.
You talk about something called active networking out
right.
in your many books and out on the website. Can you explain to us what is active networking?
Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. You got to get out there and get your hands dirty and meet people, connect with people. You can't. I say get your hands dirty because we don't teach this in colleges and universities. We don't teach networking in colleges and universities, and the reason for that is that most professors teach what I call sterile marketing. Heaven forbid that I should actually get my hands dirty and make a sale or, to network or connect with people. They don't understand the process, and so we don't learn it in school. And so let me give you an example of what I mean by active networking in terms of what do you do when you walk in a room? Well, you stand in a corner, you look, you don't even know where to start. In Networking Like a Pro, I've got some diagrams, and I'll try to explain those verbally. And the diagrams are about how to read a room. Where do you start when you go to a networking event? So imagine that you're on the roof, and the roof is clear, and you're looking down on the room. You sort of have the God view of the room. Take a look at the room, and you'll see people standing in certain ways. They'll be standing in certain positions. For example, what I'm talking about are closed groups versus open groups. A closed two, a closed three, a closed group versus an open 2, 3, or group. A closed two are two people who are standing perpendicular to each other, face to face, talking. Well, it's very difficult to strike up a conversation. You're definitely interrupting when you walk up to a closed two. A closed three from up above looks like a triangle. 3 people standing in what amounts to a triangle with no open spot. And a closed 4 would look like a square. So the first thing you want to do is look at the room and look for individuals, of course, people like yourself who might be standing in the corner going, where do I start? Or open 2s, open 3s, open 4s. An open 2 would look like, from up above, it would look like a V. 2 people standing slightly askew. It's really easy to walk up and start a conversation there. An open 3 would look like a U. And so, an open group just has an open spot. Now, I'm going to give you 2 things here. One is, if you're going to a networking event, look for those open 2s, open 3s, open 4s. If you're running a networking event, teach people to always stand in open groups. Teach people to always stand in open groups. Now, I did this with a couple of, you mentioned that I am the founder of a group called BNI, and I tested this out with a few BNI groups, and we interviewed the visitors afterwards, and we said, what did you think about this group? And they said, it's hard to put my finger on it, but it was just so easy to strike up a conversation with these people. They were just easy to start a conversation with. Well, we taught them to always have open stances, open twos, open threes, open groups, so that it made it very easy for a visitor to just kind of slide in and start a conversation. And I did this with several groups, and to a group, the visitors said, I can't put my finger on it, but they just seem so friendly. So it's great if you're running a networking meeting, and it's great if you're visiting and you want to find people to talk to. Start with those open twos, open threes, and, of course, individuals that you can strike up a conversation with.
Well, Ivan, I've got a couple more questions to ask you before we let you go here, and I want to get them in before the show ends. And for those of you all that want to go back and revisit what Ivan had to say on networking today, the call is archived, and you guys can download it and save it to your laptop, desktop, iPad, iTunes, and all of the above. Now, can you gave so many different examples on networking skills, different ways to network when you when you're actually walking into a networking room, and I really appreciate you for that. But I wonder, are there any effective networking strategies that one could work on to position themselves better? Is there any key things that we need to focus on when it comes down to strategies? Again, I try to give people strategies, different other things that they can either work on. Well, with the other thought pattern of knowing that, no, we all don't have it all, but I tell you, if you can go, we can all go get it. And I'm looking to see if you can assist us in that area also.
Sure. Let me give you two things relating to diversity and networking, two completely different areas of diversity and networking. One is you have to diversify the types of networks you participate in. So don't go out and join 3 chambers of commerce. It doesn't make sense. Although I recommend chambers. I think chambers are a great way to go out and connect with people. But go join a chamber of commerce. Participate in it like a service club, a Rotary Alliance, a Kiwanis. Participate in a strong contact network like BNI, where we only take one person per profession. So be in one of 2 or 3 of those kinds of groups. Online networks. I'm a real believer in online networks. Be in a couple of online networks. And so diversify the kinds of networks that you participate in. And the second thing is understand that personal diversity is key in building a powerful personal network. Networks by nature are clumpy. That's the technical term, clumpy. They're cluster-like. We tend to hang out with people like ourselves. Our friends tend to be each other's friends. So we tend to hang out with people who look like us, sound like us, act like us, have the same backgrounds as us. And that's a huge mistake when it comes to building a powerful personal network. Because the more diverse your network, the more likely you are to have a connector in your personal network who will connect you to a whole different cluster of people. And I'm not talking about just the traditional forms of diversity, although that's very important, race, religion, those kinds of things. But I'm also talking about education, age, professional background. The more diverse your personal network, the more likely you are to have somebody in your network who will connect you to a cluster of people that you wouldn't otherwise have a chance to meet. So diversity in many ways, and this is counterintuitive to a lot of business people. I see a lot of business people who want to go out and just network with CEOs only. Well, first of all, the CEOs are hiding from you. They don't want to network with you because they know you're trying to sell them something. So and that's the truth. So, the best way to get to those people is to have a powerful personal network is to have a diverse network, a network that has these connectors who connect you to people you wouldn't otherwise have a chance to connect with.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I am actually been tagged or known as a connector of connectors, and a lot of it has to do with just how I network with people. And I believe in, you have to have a listening ear when you go out, and not always, like you mentioned, trying to sell to people. And, of course, CEOs, CFOs, they're truly running, and people have to think about it. You get to how many people before you actually get to that person in most cases?
Yeah, well, quite a few.
You have to think about it. Quite a few people. So, Ivan, we are down to the last couple minutes here in the show, and I'd love for you to tell people how to find you, where they could locate you on the Internet, and if you could share a little even about BNI. It is truly an organization that I truly believe in.
Sure. Well, first of all, I have a blog that if people want to just kind of follow what I talk about in terms of networking, a lot of great content, obviously all free. Businessnetworking.com. Businessnetworking.com is my blog. And if anyone's interested in BNI, our website is BNI.com. It stands for Business Network International, BNI.com. And we now have over 6,000 chapters in almost 50 countries around the world. So every time we turn around, the organization is growing. And, we take one person per profession. We get together every week and we pass each other referrals. And so anyone who's interested in a local chapter can go to BNI.com for information on that. As you mentioned, my latest book is Networking Like a Pro. Although I have a new book coming out, I'd love your audience to just kind of keep their eyes open. And here's the title of the book, and I have a prediction. This is being recorded, so I'm going to put this out there on this prediction, okay? This is going to be my best-selling book of all time. Here's the title. It's not a joke. Business, Networking, and Sex, Not What You Think.
Yes.
And it's about the difference between men and women and how they network, which I know some of your audience is now very disappointed because they thought it was going to be something else. But it's done. The manuscript's been turned in. It's a great book that talks about how men and women network and has a few surprises in it.
I saw that when I went out there yesterday and actually today, and it was interesting looking at some of the statistics that you had gathered in preparing for, your launch of the book. It was really interesting, and I'm excited about checking it out when it is released. So I would definitely encourage you all to look at it. It's really meaty and it's very helpful, and some of it puts a smile.
Yeah.
Well,
great.
guys, I'd like to thank you, Ivan, and I'm sure our listeners would like to thank you also for coming and just giving us what you gave us today here. I'm going to tell you all how to find me. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you so much.
Can I leave you with one last thought? I think one of the most important things I've learned in the last 27 years of running the world's largest network is that it's not what you know or who you know. It's not what you know, it's who you know. It's not what you know or who you know. It's how well you know each other that really counts. It's about going deep and building those relationships. And that's what real networking is all about.
Wow, I'm going to quote that. I'm going to quote you and reference you out there on the social media platform with just that today. I really appreciate you for giving us that knowledge there. Well, you all, as you all know, and my name is Danette Moss. I am your host of Let's Talk Strategies with Danette Moss, and we air live every Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, and you never know who you may hear from on our show. Our shows are full of what I consider small business nuggets, tips, and hints and more that all business owners need, whether it be small, mid-sized, or large business owners. And I'd like to thank you guys once again for joining myself and Ivan here on